everyone, and welcome to the final Upscale conference. My name is Marian, and I'll be your host for today. Just to remind you, as you can see on the screen, the Upscale stands for the Skills for the Digital Future of Plastics Factories, and it's a project that is co-founded by Erasmus Plus program of the European Union, and that it started in November 2018. The project involves 9 partners that include VAT providers and associations, and the contribution from the EU for the project budget is 700,000 euros. Now, the aim of this online event is to provide a comprehensive overview of the project's results and to present the implementation of the Upscale books in Europe, with particular focus on our partner countries, Lithuania, France, and Finland. As EUPC is in charge of dissemination and exploitation activities of the Upscale project, the final conference is one of our communication activities foreseen in the project. Now, when it comes to today's agenda and speakers, we will first start with Silvia from EUPC, and she will give us an overview of the situation in the plastic sector in Europe. After that, Mr. Frank Stenau, chairman of the Upscale Steering Committee, will present project framework and key events. And then we will continue with presenting results from the Upscale project. And this is a part reserved for our project coordinator, Grażyna. After that, Mark will discuss potential difficulties when multiple partners collaborate on a project like this, and present some of the solutions that our consortium came up with. Then we will have 2 panel discussions. First one is the importance of the Upscale results for the educational system of the partner countries. Here I mainly think about Lithuania, Finland, and France, and the overview of how the results will be applied. Then we will also, our second panel discussion, will discuss the importance of the Upscale results for the plastics industry. Then we will finish our conference with a presentation from Mr. Paweł Krępański from the Executive Agency for Education, Audiovisual and Culture of the European Commission, and he will present the importance of sector skill alliances projects. After each section, we'll have a short Q&A, and after every panel discussion, there will be some additional time for the questions as well. So I would like at this moment to move to the presentations. As I can see that our first speaker, Silvia, is online, I would just use this opportunity to welcome her and also to present Silvia a little bit. So Silvia Feni Sterantino is Senior Legal and Regulatory Affairs Manager at European Plastics Converters. Before joining EUPC, she worked as an attorney in leading European law firms and in the DG for competition of the European Commission. She was admitted to the Italian Bar Association as a full qualified attorney. She studied law at the University of Siena, Cambridge, and London, where she earned a Master's of Laws degree in competition law and intellectual property at the London School of Economics and Political Science. So,
thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm representing and I'm taking the place of Alexandre Dangy, UPC Managing Director, who unfortunately couldn't make it today. So I'm replacing him, and I hope my presentation will be as interesting as if he would have made it. Of course, I remain available after the presentation for some questions, so do not hesitate, also via email. Marian has my contacts. So today I would like to guide you through the overview of the European plastics industry, of course concentrating on the converters position. First, to some words about UPC. So UPC is a federation of European plastics converters, and the mission of UPC is to create and contribute to an open and fair trading environment. So we tend to focus, we are a trade association in the sense we focus on our members and how to improve their activities, supporting them on understanding European legislation and regulations when it comes also to regulation and issue management and trade issues at large, including competition matters. The association was established in 1989 and today counts 46 national and European associations. I will present you briefly. And via the association, we are able to represent 50,000 companies. The majority of them are SMEs sparse all around Europe. And also these are companies are also producing more than 50 million tons of products annually. When it comes to the association, here you can see a map of our members. So our direct members can be distinguished into categories. So we have national plastics associations, again, all around Europe, including non-strictly European countries, such as the Swiss Association or the Turkish one. And we also have a European sectoral association. So those are associations of converters that specialize in specific types of production. So I'm thinking of TEPSA, that represents converters that produce pipes and fittings, or AFME, that represents the PVC profiles windows producers. We also have partners and belong, or either because we found them or somehow as in partnership, to different value chain associations. As you see, most of them are dedicated to a specific family of polymers, such as vinyl plus, or PISA for polyolefins, Styrenics, but we're also a big supporter of Waste Free Oceans, which is an NGO dedicated to the collection of waste on the sea or on marine environment and transform this plastics waste into new products. So, and also in order to create awareness on how it's possible to get waste to become and get a second life. UPC structure, we have a big structure indeed, which at the end can count on more than 350 industry experts, which are organized in different task force and working groups. It starts, of course, with the General Assembly, where all our members sit, and then we can count on the steering committee that decides and leads the way on the priorities of the association and also on the strategy in order to improve, as said, the trade and the development of converters activities. Plastics converters, indeed, we are very proud in the sense that we are really at the center of the plastics, European plastics value chain. And in blue, in all of those graphs, you can see the evident majority of plastic converters and their role into the production of turnover and presence in terms of employees and companies around Europe, especially when compared to the plastics manufacturers, meaning the polymer producers and plastics recyclers. So we are, as I said, we are very proud, and definitely we represent the biggest of the plastics industry. When it comes to plastics demand, I will show you from now onwards some numbers. So these are based mostly on the Plastics Europe figures that date back to 2019. And these are the numbers that also are used as reference by the European Commission in its official communication, and also are used as the premise for the activities of the European regulators when working on the topic. So definitely packaging is the biggest source of activity and production in Europe, followed by building and construction and automotive, whereas the other sector that you see listed here are definitely a minority compared to the packaging, which I said accounts for almost 40,000% of the plastics demand in 2019. When it comes to the polymers of choice, definitely polyolefins win. Although PET for packaging is considered an important material, it's a material of choice for certain niche application. And there is nowadays, we see the tendency, and probably those numbers might change, where PET might be still preferred because it's considered an easier material when it comes to its recycling. When it comes to PVC, on the opposite, it represents a small amount, a small fraction for packaging, which is considered to be a problematic material, versus the building and construction which has decided when it uses PVC as its material of choice. Also, we see a quite big presence of polystyrene as well, again, split among building and construction mostly, and a little bit in the packaging sector, and polyurethanes as well, which combined with the different sectors, also quite of a big polymer that is demanded in Europe. When it comes to plastics packaging, plastics industry production, again, we saw quite of some changes and an evolution of the production in the European country from the early years of 2000 till 2019. So these are data set until 2019. There were, of course, the big crisis of 2018 has hit the sector, in particular when it comes to the machine purchase, which are quite expensive before. They were the first not to be bought in those years, but then it started again to be increased in the following years. And again, now we see, since the last 3 years, a decrease again in all of the three voices, in particular also when it comes to plastics products. So there is indeed this tendency from the market to reduce plastics, in particular to work, which can read as a negative information, but on the other hand, there is the ability of the plastics industry to reduce the weight of its products, so the amount of polymers and material used per product, because the industry works constantly on improving lightweighting and improving efficiency of its products, and therefore the amount of plastics out there. So that it can be seen as a good result eventually, even though it looks like as a negative or the decrease, for example, from other years. So today the European plastics industry has quite a few priorities. The first definitely is the recovery from the pandemic caused by COVID-19 virus. We're also experiencing, and I will spend some words, the raw material supply crisis, with many force majeure declarations by the polymer producers. There is, of course, the biggest discussion around sustainability and circular economy. So for those of you that follow more closely European activities, you might be familiar with the plastic strategy of 2018 that was launched by the European Commission, followed by the Circular Plastics Alliance, and by, again, this call that has been renovated in 2020 for increasing recycling and the use of recyclates into new products, into European plastics products. Another priority which is growing and still there to, let's say, to bother us is the negative image of plastics, which has an impact, again, when it comes to explaining and advertising the perks and the benefits of using plastics versus other materials. As I said, when it comes to the raw material supply, we are experiencing since a couple of years issues when it comes to the supply from the raw material producers, or from the polymer producers to the converters. This means that there is a little bit of a play of availability of materials, which eventually are sold at higher price than normally, and this price, of course, ends up cascading into the final price of finished and semi-finished products, which are converted in Europe. We had a crisis already in 2015, a quite big crisis of this number of force majeure declaration. And again, now we are experiencing, because of COVID-19, also since the beginning, I would say since September last year, and also again confirmed at the beginning of 2021, many of those declarations. And I hope all of you are familiar with what a force majeure declaration is, but basically it's when you have a contract in place in order to supply and to purchase products with a raw material producer, even though he would be contractually obliged to provide you a certain amount at certain dates, he can declare, well, the company can declare a force majeure declaration, meaning that something happened that doesn't allow that company to provide in time and at the agreed price the supply of material necessary. And so this, of course, creates quite big problems also in terms of predictability and certainty of business activities for SMEs. When it comes to the existence of plastic post-consumer waste, we see indeed that the amount is definitely increasing, together with, of course, consumption at European level. But also we're seeing how Europe is starting to taking care of its own waste instead of sending abroad or going around its recycling targets obligation. For example, if we look at the number of 2018, we had almost 30 million tons of plastic post-consumer waste that has been collected. And when it comes to its destiny, still a big amount is spent or is given, disposed via energy recovery. However, we see, and there's a positive trend happening, again, this is at European level, of disposal via recycling. Unfortunately, we still see a big amount of waste being landfill, and it's something that we really would like not to see in the future. It's often a request that we make to European regulators to limit, if not prohibiting at all, landfilling as a way of disposing waste, whatever the source, whether post-industrial or post-consumer waste. But again, this to show you that this is something that we see happening, and that recycling and therefore the reduction of exports outside of the EU of plastics waste is happening, and it's a positive trend that we see. Again, as I said, the amount of plastics waste is still quite a lot. And this shows you in detail how the evolution has gone from 2006 till 2018. Luckily, we see still, when it comes to plastic, a decrease of the amount of plastics that goes into landfill, a decrease by 44%. And positively also, we see a major evolution and disposal via recycling, which has improved by 100%. And still, energy recovery, I would say, quite strong for post-consumer waste as a preferred option by municipalities when it comes to the right waste management of their waste. And we see, of course, that things might change in the future, as I said, thanks to the Circular Economy Action Plan and to these calls to improve sustainability and circularity of products in Europe. And in general, the calls of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation to really work on this green solution has definitely been heard in Brussels, and it's now reflected in many initiatives that are currently being carried out by the policymakers. So this means, of course, that the fact that there is a quite higher interest, and it shows, of course, the results in working in recycling of post-consumer waste. It's creating recyclates that has to be taken care of. And again, in 2018, we saw 4 million tons of plastics recyclates being used into new projects in Europe. Again, the majority of these 4 million goes still to packaging, which again is still a big sector. I said that the 40% of production of plastics production in Europe is devoted to packaging, followed by the automotive sector and by the other sectors, smaller sectors such as electronic and electric equipment, houseware, furniture, and mattresses, etc. And 46% is, as you can see, the gray part related to building infrastructure, which again can absorb more easily compared to other streams recyclates. Especially we as converters are aware that we still need to work as a system to improve the quality of recyclates. And especially we need a regulation that would allow the use of recyclates into food contact application, which again also is a big part of the packaging production in Europe. So voila, so that was a little bit of an overview of the current situation in Europe. When we look at the way forward for the plastics industry, we definitely think that it's important to work together and to transit efficiently and effectively to a circular economy, to work in improving the environmental footprint of plastics products. This has to come, of course, together with investment in new technologies. I'm thinking, of course, of technologies into products production, but also into recycling capacities, collecting and sorting capacities, and chemical recycling, in addition to mechanical recycling. Of course, it's important to create innovative solutions for new and more sustainable products, possibly working with the other stakeholders, brand owners, into finding the new sustainable way of consuming and of consumption of products. And this means, of course, that these changes that are much needed into our society will need specialized and highly trained workforce, which has, of course, to be aware of why we need this change, where we come from, and also what should be the ideal green and most environmentally sustainable future for plastics production. So thank you very much for your time. I don't know if you have questions.
So thank you a lot, Silvia. I would also invite our audience to use the opportunity to ask questions. There is a Q&A box, so feel free to type, and I will ask our speakers those questions. Maybe, Silvia, I will just use the opportunity, as we mentioned already, the circular economy, maybe to mention Circular Plastics Alliance, or CPA,
yes,
and the work that has been done there. Maybe some of our audience would like to know more about it.
Yes. So the CPA stands for Circular Plastics Alliance. It's an initiative that's been launched by the European Commission with the former Commission, so in 2018. And the new Commission that has installed itself in 2020 has confirmed the intention to work on the CPA. So the CPA is an alliance of companies that want to work and reach the goal of 10 million tons of recyclates in the EU market by 2025. So today, the way the alliance works is via a steering committee and 5 working groups dedicated per application. So we have the packaging, the automotive, the building and construction, the electric and electronic equipment, and an agricultural one. And they try to work out what could be the solutions to improve the quality of recyclates and the availability into the production of new products. So it's quite young in a way, even though it was launched at the end of, it was launched officially in 2018. Then eventually we had the full signature and understanding of the support of the Commission in 2018. And as of today, the CPA has delivered a few position papers and few, let's say, yes, visions on how to get to those 10 million tons. And now definitely it's working more hands-on, the actual work on how to improve, starting by family of products that are considered easier in a way, but where there is the will of the industry to work on improving and increasing the amount of recyclates in those products. So, I'm talking about, of course, family of polyolefins, but also more difficult, such as PVC or PS products, for which they're working also on standardization together with Senelec.
Thank you. I will use also this opportunity that you are here. We have a question from George Bramis regarding single-use plastics. I know that you are
Yes, that's actually my baby. So
yeah. So the question,
sure.
where do we stand with single-use plastics? Their usage is not uniform across Europe. Will they be banned?
Good question. So to reply to the first about uniformity, unfortunately with directives, by their nature, they are not as regulation. Means that they still need as a legislative document to be implemented at national level. And they come with this liberty that is given to member states to decide somehow how to tailor different measures. So unfortunately, this is something that it's very difficult to fight, especially using the principle of the free circulation of goods, which should allow an easy uniformation of rules across member states. But the reality, this is not happening, unfortunately. And we fight to ensure that there is the most harmonization, but I can tell you it's not easy because we have the rules against us, basically. When it comes about the possible banning of all SUP, I think there is the understanding by the European Commission that there's no such thing as banning all SUP. I think there is the understanding that they are useful and they are there for a reason. Also, the whole SUP directive was informed by the principle that things were banned only if there was a better environmental alternative. So knowing how plastics and plastics recycling can be good and can perform good from an environmental point of view and from an LCA point of view, the European Commission allows products to circulate because it's understood that definitely better in performance, looking at the whole, of course, story and the whole use from the source to the disposal of those items. So I don't think they will be banned, no. But definitely what I can foresee is that there will be a rediscussion of the concept of single use. So not only for plastics, but for all materials. The issue here is not plastics per se, I think, in terms of maturity of the discussion, but it's the fact that there is an easy disposal of certain items and this easily throwing and easy disposal of certain types of packaging and products, which we need to fight as a society in general.
Okay. I know that you have quite a busy day, but I will just use this opportunity for one final question. We have a question from Silka as we talked about this specialized workforce that is needed. She was wondering, do we have any concrete numbers? How big the workforce can be or should be?
This is a good question. I would need to revert to my colleagues so that I have the numbers. So I can provide you with exact numbers, but definitely we are talking about a conversion of existing workforce because we expect that certain products or certain activities might not be necessary anymore. So this would require some degree of adaptation and I would say studying and development of certain know-how. Together with new skills and new workforce. In terms of number, I can get back to you because I don't have right now by my side those numbers.
1.5 million, I remember you have used previously 1.5 million employees.
Thank you, Veisa. So around 1.5 million. We will also check and come back to Circa. So Sylvia, thanks a lot. I know you have a busy day today. Thank you.
Yeah, I can reply. I see there is another question. If I have a minute, I can reply about the use of will the use of SUP will be extended. Diapers, etc. So it might. I think because now under the SUP directive there is already in scope wet wipes, and there are already female sanitary pads. So I would expect that a logical consequence would be also to cover diapers, yes, because they are so, even though as converters, we are not active in this market, I guess the structure and the products that I use are pretty much the same. So yes, I would expect, but not under the SUP directive, probably in coming years.
Thank you a lot.
Okay, so I'll leave you to a lovely webinar. And I thank you all for the attention and wish you a nice continuation.
Thank you, Sylvia. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So we will continue with our speakers. The next one is Mr. Frank Stenau, Chairman of the Upscale Steering Committee. After 27 years spent in the industry, mainly in France, but also in Asia as a technician, and then the head of production and support services, such as maintenance, methods, and quality, Frank wanted to orient his career towards what he points out as the engine of any business activity. So the human, of course. He oriented his career towards supporting and increasing the skills of employees by creating his training and consulting company. And for 10 years, Frank worked on improving the industrial performance by working on the 3 pillars of progress, so human, organization, and technology. In 2014, he took over the management of ISPA, so this is Higher Institute of Plastics in France, in Alençon, and began to apply the same principles. In 2018, he accepted the role of the chairman within the frame of the Upscale Project. On January 1st, 2001, the French Plastics and Composite Materials profession calls on ISPA to merge with other plastic training centers in France, and this is how Polivia Formation was born, a national training organization for plastics and composite processing industry. Today, Frank is the Director of Initial Training, Research and Partnership. So at this point, I would invite Frank to present project framework and key events. Frank?
Thank you, Martin, and good afternoon, everybody. I would like to show you my presentation for this chapter. Normally, is it okay for you?
Maybe just put it in a presentation mode, because we can see both slides.
Ah.
Just share a screen once more.
Normally that should be here. Is this good?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Here? No?
It's also fine, Frank, no problem.
Just a problem for that.
It's because you are using 2 screens, but if you go back, if you start sharing it again, in the middle there is a little button that you need to click on.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
And
yes, and the
like
parameters, the affichage in the top.
Yeah.
Parameters, the affichage. It's there.
Yes, here.
Yes, you click on that and try the other option.
Here?
It's good.
It's good?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Lila.
No
Thank
problem.
you, Grazina. Okay, so just as the major point for this European partner and project. So it was one of the most photos that we had with the group, with each partner here. We can see many people, many ideas, and a very, very beautiful and big project. So it was a great adventure. So I would like to show you a different major kind of step in this project. Firstly, in 2018, the project with Mr. Wildard, the time director of INPRA, and the Engineering Industries Association of Lithuania, and Mr. Dengis, the head of UPC, aware of the shortage of qualified specialists in the plastics industry in Europe, decided to solicit the Erasmus Plus program for a 2-year project with the objective to build an answer to this situation through the design of a curriculum and a training book. In the second step here, we together we shared activities, responsibilities, gathered European partners interested in the training of employees in the plastics sector, and then prepared the application for the Upscale project. So in the step 3, we had the kickoff meeting in November, if I have a good remember, the 11th of 2018. It was the opportunity for the partners to meet and discover each other and outline the Upscale project. So in the step 4, we were in 2019, we had the arrival of the new project leader in July. It was Grazina, who took the lead on the project with a great mastery. In the step 5, we worked on the curriculum, taking into account some constraints among partners. We had to proceed with a slight redistribution on work package 2 in summer 2019. In the step 6, the bi-weekly web meetings set up in the course of the project constitute a key for maintaining the momentum of the project with the constitution of experts teams with leaders for each unit of the book. In the step 7, we were in 2020. It was a time to pilot the project in Lithuania. The gathering of partners, teachers in Lithuania in February was a great opportunity to know better each other and to experiment in real conditions the contents of the books. But 8 months after the COVID health crisis in spring 2020 impact the global project manager, and that led us to adapt and find solution in order to go forward. In step 9, the 6-month project extension brought a significant relief to the team and gave us the opportunity to ensure the success of the project. After we had improvements, this period was very crucial because many crucial actions conducted by each partner with its own students, for example, trainees in professional reintegration for Olivia Formation in France, or migrants for Tredu in Finland. And for the end, thank you to the piloting feedback. We had a valuable material to ensure significant improvement of the books during January to April 2021. So Upscale with these 2 books, and I will concrete on this line. Upscale with its 2 books is the first technical training tool in the field of plastics and composite with their technical equivalent in Europe. They had a lot of back and forth on documents, which is normal in a project. And this was accentuated with by the cultural differences, technological levels and requirements of each partner. It was a real challenge for everyone to find an agreement, a form of balance and consensus, both technically, but also on the meaning and interpretation of the writings, exercise and pedagogical methods of student and teacher's book. Today, both books exist and are operational. It is a strong working base, solid result of a multitude of professional experiences. Of course, these training materials could be improved, upgraded. They could include interactive, immersive video, accessible by QR code, for example, or even a link with professional repositories. An identical project, but dedicated to a higher level, could also be an access to be developed if the profession expresses the need for it. Nothing is fixed. Everything can be improved. Beyond this work, the creation of a solid base, as said, for a technical training tool, it seems to me that this project has also made it possible to highlight a will and common European values. Teaching is not an easy job, and it is presented as one of the most beautiful jobs in the world. In the sanitary period that we are all living through today, physical encounters in the project were very quickly limited. The morale of the development teams was also put to the test because in parallel, the technical trainers also had to provide courses in distance without having a lot of experience in the field. The outcome of the project has all the more flavor, and the merits of the teams is all the greater. So once again, and to end my speech, congratulations to everyone, and a special thanks to you, to the pilot of the project, Grazina, for having carried out her task and guiding all the teams with all her calm, her passion, and above all her smile and its positivity. Congratulations on the great achievement, and maybe see you soon for other great projects like this one. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Frank. I completely agree. It was one hell of a journey, definitely, and putting now in this one slide to, you know, show, let's say, the highs and lows of the project, and that we finally managed to come to the end.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're gonna move to Grażyna, our coordinator. Just a few words about Grażyna. She has a bachelor degree of education science and master degree of company law. She worked for 5 years as international relations manager at the Ministry of Finance of the Republic of Lithuania. From 2018, she's a project manager, coordinator in Limpia, with the main responsibility of management of projects related to education and engineering field. Among other projects, as Frank pointed out, she's also a project coordinator for our Upscale project. And I invite Grażyna now to present the results from the Upscale project.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our final conference. Thank you, Marian, for introduction. Thank you, Frank, for showing this detailed picture of our journey through the Upscale project. And I think now it's my turn as a project manager to present the Upscale project and its main activities, and to speak about the results that we have reached throughout this journey. So first of all, I will give you some facts about the project. Starting from digital transformation, which is an important topic all around the world, and Europe is no exception. Manufacturing companies are going through the digital transformation. Therefore, the digital skills became the major priority for Europe and its manufacturing companies. Unfortunately, due to skills gaps, companies in plastic industry across Europe face various problems: unfilled vacancies, downtime, a defect of production, longer delivery times. All of this leads to negative impact on their competitiveness. And of course, there is a need to adapt the European workforce together with the education and learning systems. We know that this can only be achieved with a vocational education and training that is designed to promote new types of skills that are relevant today, such as digital skills, green skills, entrepreneurial competences, lean skills. Having this in mind, we have decided to start a project that would correspond the changing needs of plastic companies. And this is how the Upscale Project was born. So the full title of the project is The Skills for the Digital Future of Plastics Factories. It started in 2018 on the 1st of November. Its duration is 32 months and it is to be ended in this month, in April. We are 9 partners in the project, and the partners include VET providers and associations. It is a project that is co-funded by the European Union, and the European Union's part is almost 700,000 euro. So our consortium, it covers all the stakeholders. So first of all, vocational education and training providers from Lithuania, Finland, and France. They have experience in different fields of vocational education and training, and it is very important that they have practical training centers equipped with plastics processing products machines. In addition, we have as a partners associations from Belgium, from Lithuania, France, and Finland, and they ensure EU-wide representation of plastics converters, development of educational strategies, and lobbying. And finally, we have one partner, a public body, a Lithuanian education organization, which is a national coordination point for implementation of EQF and Aquavet to VET programs. So our main goals that were established at the beginning, the first one was to analyze and identify what are the present and required qualifications for the plastics machine operators. We have contacted plastics companies in Lithuania, Belgium, Finland, and France, asking what are the competences that are needed. Secondly, we performed analysis and identification of present European VET curricula for plastics machine operators in Lithuania, Finland, and France. Having made this analysis, we came up with a report which included recommendations for the skills that are needed in plastics sector. Following the recommendations, we developed an adaptive work-based learning vocational training program and included there digital programming, circular economy, and lean manufacturing skills. I would like to add here that in the initial project, it was planned to create a training program and training material for plastics machine operators. But when we went in a closer cooperation with plastic companies, we noticed that their need is to have trainings for a higher qualification employees. Therefore, we decided to put some more effort and to create the training program that would really correspond the needs of the companies. And it was decided to create a training program for a higher qualification employees, meaning plastics processing line conductors. So what is the upscale approach? Of course, we are approaching the plastic industry, which is really innovative and facilitates resource efficiency and, of course, creates jobs. The industry in Europe accounts for 50,000 companies and 1 around 1.6 million jobs. Plastics converters are at the heart of the plastics industry since they account for around 90% of total employees in the plastics sector. So this is an important industry and takes a large part of the whole industry of Europe. However, it faces challenges. It needs talented and qualified people. And for the moment, it is really a huge challenge for many companies in the plastics industry. So the project addresses the skills mismatch and pressing problems in the sector, namely low level of digital skills of plastic processing line conductors and the overall lack of highly competent and motivated workforce. Therefore, in the project description, we strictly said that the Upscale project aims to enhance the capability of European vet systems to respond to the plastics sector specific labor market needs by designing, piloting and implementing an innovative vocational training program for plastics processing line conductor. So the focus of the project is laid on digital skills, green skills, and entrepreneurial competences. We set up our aims and said that the project will enhance the quality of vocational training, improve the competence of teachers and plastics processing line conductors, make vet curriculum more relevant to the labor market, provide students and teachers with the opportunity to use innovative digital materials. And to achieve that, we have divided our project activities in 7 work packages. So the first work package, the first goal of the project was to make qualifications and curricular research. Having performed this research and following the recommendations, we have developed in work package 2 vet curriculum, model vet curriculum, according to which in work package 3 we have designed training material, teacher's book and student's book. Having done this, we went to work package 4 and performed piloting activities in schools and plastic companies in order to see how it works, how it might be improved. After the piloting, recommendations were drafted, and following these recommendations, vet curriculum and training material were improved to correspond the needs of the plastic companies and teachers training plastics machine conductors. In addition, we have 3 more work packages which are ongoing from the start till the end of the project. Work package 5 is dedicated to ensure the quality of all the processes and work packages and the results of the project. Work package 6 is dedicated to ensure wide dissemination and exploitation of the results of the project. And finally, work package 7, which is our responsibility, is project management. So what groups are we targeting with our project? So first of all, students and apprentices in vocational education. Then professionals and teachers in vocational training, staff of vocational education providers. This means that the training material is not dedicated only to professionals working in plastics. If a teacher wants to add to his profile one more training, he can easily take our material, get to know it, and start teaching. We are also targeting in-company trainers. This means that the training material may be used in companies. Another target group are plastics processing line conductors already working in enterprises. And of course, unemployed of all ages from the labor exchange. migrants, and adults aiming for requalification. So we went on with the activities and have come up to the results. So what results we have achieved? We have the EQF-based model VET curriculum. We have national VET program in Lithuania, and we have supplemented present training programs in other countries. We have prepared training material for students and teachers, students' book and teachers' book. As I have already mentioned before, the training material was piloted in schools and plastic companies in Lithuania, France, and Finland. All in all, 32 trainers and 150 trainees participated in the piloting activity. And all the material is produced in English, French, Finnish, and Lithuanian languages. So as regards model VET curriculum and program, I would like to mention that it includes basic skills on manufacturing of plastic products, job-specific skills, programming and digital skills, robotics, green skills, lean manufacturing, entrepreneurial skills, health and safety at work. As regards training material, we have the students' book ready. I just wanted to give you a visual picture of how it looks. So here's the student's book. Here is the colors of the teacher's book. I will not go into detail regarding the training material. I think that Mark will do this. He will tell about the process and how all the creation of the results went on. In addition, we expect here long-term results. We hope that line conductors will be capable of systemic thinking and entrepreneurial mindset due to technical, lean manufacturing, and soft skills that are integrated in VET curriculum and training material. We very much hope that this training material will help employees and students acquire fast-track skills for employment, and that plastic companies will receive just-in-time talent from the classroom to the shop floor. They will not need to put extra effort, financial or human resources training their employees. We hope that the project will improve and make better interaction between educational centers and industries, so that the training provided by the VET schools will correspond the needs of companies. For more information, you may always check our Upscale website. The latest information is always uploaded on our LinkedIn profile, and if you have questions, please just drop in your letter to our email. Thank you very much, and have a nice conference.
Thank you, Grażyna. I will have you for a couple of more minutes. Maybe just I wanted to discuss what's next when it comes to this student and teacher's book, but also we have questions from the audience regarding this. So from Michael Schumann, is it possible to get the training books for our company? We are a PVC film producer, I'm guessing from Germany.
Definitely all the material will be available from the 1st of May, because there are still some final touches by the designer. It will be uploaded on the website of Upscale. It will be uploaded on websites of VET schools, and it is free and available for all the companies and all VET providers in Europe. So welcome.
Also from Christina Monge, it was the similar questions. Are these teachers' books publicly available? So I think we answered this as well. So I would like to thank you, Grażyna. We'll also have one last segment with you at the end. So do stick around, please. Thank you a lot. So after this, we are turning to Mark. Just to present Mark. Mark worked for 10 years as an electronics engineer in France and in the US. He specialized in microcontroller positioning system for telecommunications. Then he held different positions such as department manager, a teacher in regional vocational training centers for industry, e-learning project manager in the same training center. Since 2014, Mark is a science teacher and project manager at then ISPA, and now Polivia formation, as we already told you, there was a merge of different centers in France. So Mark is gonna talk about, let's say, potential difficulties when multiple partners collaborate on a project and present some of the solutions. This is, of course, based on the work package 3 and a lot of work that the different partners put in order to, at the end, produce these students and teachers' books. So Mark, please go ahead.
Thank you, Marianne. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to share my slides. It's okay? Okay, great. Yes, as Marianne said, I'm going to present the work that's been done, particularly on one of the work packages that were presented by Grazina, which is the work package 3. Work package 3 deals with it's at the heart of the project, and it deals with the creation of the design of the books, the student's book and the teacher's book. So on this work package, I was the leader of this work package, and so I'm going to explain what we went through this huge work all together with all the partners, and talk to you about the challenges, the obstacles, the solutions we found, because we had to go forward, and potential, you know, what we learned from this experience, and what could be done and applied to future projects. First of all, I would like to get into some details about the work package 3 with its description. So the work package 3 was dealt with the development of training tools, and when I say tools, I mean the books as it was described in the project, and it was the objective was to provide these tools for VET institutions mainly, and also for companies in order to train their employees. So Grazina said before that we oriented the work towards one specific position in the company, which was not the original one, because we had some discussions, long discussions at the beginning, talking about what is an operator and what is a line conductor, and we finally decided that altogether that our work dealt with the plastic processing line conductor position. And what we had to do, what we aimed was to deal with knowledge, what knowledge is required in different fields for the line conductor, and also we dealt also with technical, organizational, and relational skills. Technical, of course, because the line conductor must know how the process works and how to conduct it. And we included, of course, the fields of digital, green, and entrepreneurial skills together, also with these technical skills. But this is an important part, because we wanted to orient our project towards the development of competencies and skills. So the work package was divided in 3 tasks. The first one was the development of the students' book, and the second one was dealt with the development of the teacher's book. And we had a third task that consists in the alignment of the contents for each country's environment. As we worked together, and that was part of the first, in the first months, of course, we discovered that we had differences in our practices and our approaches, and that was quite of a challenge for all of us to align everything together and make sure that what we were going to produce could be applied in each country's environment. So talking about the challenges, first, I'm going to list here a few questions, the main questions we asked ourselves and for which we had to find answers. And the first one was dealt with the pedagogical issue. And the question was, what is the end use of the deliverable? Actually, as we wanted to orient our work towards the development of competencies, this question arose. Did we want to build a book, just as a standard book, technical book, with a big amount of knowledge in it, so people could use it as they wanted? Or did we want to go further, a little further, which I mean, talking as a teacher, trainer, did we want to work and build a manual, what we call a manual, which is a document that goes beyond what can be done with a book, providing activities, so some kind of a very operational tool that could be directly used by teachers as it is and applied. And the answer quickly, we had discussions, big discussions about that, and the answer came that we wanted to build a manual, some very operational tool for the teachers and the students. The second challenge was, the question was how to share ideas and make collective decisions with everybody's agreement. As I said before, we all discovered each other, we discovered each environment and each approach, and of course we had it was kind of difficult to in the beginning to really understand the position of everybody and to arrive to a collective objective. So that was quite a question for us, and it was as the work package leader, I had that question in my head for quite a while at the beginning. So I wanted to make sure that we could start working on very strong basis. So yes, we had to find a working method with a collective approach, and in this question we had to deal with how to dispatch the work among partners, because of course, although we were all working in the same field, the plastic processing, we all had different fields of expertise. For myself, I'm not a plastics processing specialist. I have some other expertise, but that's not one of mine. And I knew that among all the partners, we had different profiles, and we had to take this into account, so we could make sure that we could use all the expertise that was dispatched among the partners. Also the question concerning the working method was dealt with how to be effective, how to be proficient, how to work together and make the cooperation very effective. And that was very important because for a 2-year project, creating a book, 2 books, what was quite a challenge, because we discovered while the project was going, progressing, we discovered how difficult it could be to create books and units and all that. So we had to also to share the productions, make sure that everybody dispose of the last versions, and also the productions had to be shared in a real time, so we could be sure that everybody was progressing at the same pace. How to meet deadlines? Well, that's a general question for every project manager. But of course, we had that question, which was very important for all of us, since we were not located at the same place, and we were working at different rhythms and all that, and it was not that easy to make sure. So we had to be very careful with this issue. And another question, very important, of course, question was how could we ensure the high quality level, excuse me, for the production among partners. And also, actually, the question was, what is the high quality level? It's a kind of it was of course difficult, because, for example, on my side, I had to work with colleagues here at Polivia Formation, who are specialists of plastic processing, and so I had to deal with them. I had to work with them, and I had to make sure that everybody understand what was expected. We had to define what was expected and make sure that we could respect that. And also among the challenges, the question was how to manage the work package, first with the partners, and also with the colleagues. So that was my responsibility, of course, as the work package leader on the work package 3. That's what I also encountered. The challenge, dealing on one side with the partners, and make sure that everybody is producing and working in the right direction. And also getting all my colleagues here at Polivia Formation involved in the project and producing also their part. And finally, the last one, of course, was how to use the same language. What I mean here is not only using the English language, because that's what we've done. Of course, we worked with in English all together. But beyond that, we had to make sure that we were talking about the same things, or we could use the same words for the same thing. I discovered that in this field of the plastic processing, there are a lot of words that are used, very locally, and sometimes we had some difficulties to understand each other, because actually we were talking about the same thing, but we didn't use the same words. So that was kind of a challenge too. Afterwards, I will emphasize the obstacles we met. I mean, maybe it's not obstacles, but the context elements, very important elements of context that we had to take into account. First of all, the institutional vocational training context for each partner. Of course, we didn't work in the same environments, and we all were not at the same level, of maybe of progress towards the pedagogical competency approach, and that was quite very interesting to share and to discuss all these issues, but that was also that gave us some hard element of context. Also, what had to be done, but it's related, it's the expectations of each partner with regards to their own environment. Of course, in this kind of project, all the partners are very interested in the project, of course, but sometimes we don't all have the same expectations. So as the work package 3 leader, I had to make sure that we were all together. We were all everybody agreed about what we were expecting, and that was created and generated some strong discussions too. One difficulty, of course, but that's also a general difficulty, is the integration of the project, the work on the project in the everyday workload. One of the main challenges was that to ensure the progress of the project, and I am as the work package leader. I tried inside Bolivia. I tried to make sure that my colleagues keep my colleagues involved. Although I knew that, of course, their main issues, their main work energy was dedicated to other activities for them. So it was quite a challenge for me, and sometimes an obstacle I had to go over to ensure the regular progress of the project. And also one point also that had to be we had to look at was the duration of the working sessions. There's no way we could work for like for 1 hour in the day on this type of project. We had to work at least for half a day or a full day in order to make sure that we produce something interesting and relevant. And also the language, I already talked about that, but of course that's normal. We had different levels of English language proficiency among all the partners, and also with the colleagues here. And so I had to deal with that, and sometimes it was a little difficult, but finally I would say that it's really incredible how we managed that point. And it's not well, I put it in the obstacle slide, but with some looking forwards, backwards now, I would consider that we had the ability to go over this difficulty and to make everybody understand what everybody was saying and all that. So that was okay. And the last point, and already talked about that, is the translation of technical terms. I discovered that since I was a specialist, I had to learn the technical terms. So that was a great work for me. It was very interesting, but also I had to make sure that the colleagues and the partners would talk the same way. We talk about use the same words for the same things, and that's quite difficult because, as I said before, we have very local language, local words. Even inside France, I discovered that. Concerning the solutions for such a big project, involving a lot of energy and skills from the partners, I would say that first of all, we had to find a framework. I talked about that at the beginning of my speech, but we had to define very quickly, a framework for the book. As I said, we all decided to work with the structure of a manual, a very operational manual with the sections, and from one unit to the other, we applied the same structure with activities. So the book, that was decided from the beginning, and that gave the framework, and everybody had to work with this framework. And the activities were like investigation activities for the students, documentary research, practical activities, method sheet, and elements to remember with extra exercises and all that, practical exercises. So this, what I just said, that is the structure of each unit of the book. I must admit that even though it was quite clear, because it was clear in my head, but I had to explain and also to all the partners I had to make sure that everybody was okay with that, and that was not so easy. But okay, I think we did a very good job, and that was a very important solution for having a collective work, very significant and coherent. The directivity also is a solution. Of course, we had to apply some kind of a ratchet effect. It was so easy to come back, to get back to what was decided the time before, because someone had a new idea and he wanted to share it. But once we had decided all together something on the work package, we had to be very directive and say, okay, no, we won't go back. That's what we decided, and let's keep going. The deadlines, of course, setting deadlines with the partners, making sure that everybody understands that, and also limit any modifications to the minimum afterwards. Once we had set deadlines, so that was quite a challenge also to make sure that we were going forward. Of course, this project couldn't have given this wonderful result with the books if we didn't set up a regular communication between partners through emails, of course, telephone sometimes, but also, as Frank said before, we at one time we didn't started with that, but at one point we discovered that setting up web meetings on a regular basis, which was a bi-weekly basis, we discovered altogether that we were going twice as fast, I would say, because of these web meetings. And that was very easy, and that was very comfortable, and that was a very nice way also to compensate to the distance, and particularly with this COVID crisis. So that was a great achievement for us, setting up the web meetings, and also the sharing of information, thoughts, ideas with everybody, and that was very important. That everybody was involved and could share the ideas and the information. That's what we did, and I think that contributed a lot to the progress of the project. And also we had to find consensus on all issues, which was quite it was sometimes difficult, but we managed that. The last point with the solutions was a permanent sharing of framework of the project. Actually, we found out from the beginning, we found that we really needed some tools, online tools in order to share all our productions and share the documents. And so we used the Google Drive for that. And it was, that helped a lot. And now I cannot imagine how we could have worked on such a project without such tools. So these are the solutions we found in order to make sure that we would reach the objectives. And I would like to end my presentation with the capitalizing on the upskill experience. If we maybe we will work on the second phase of upskill 2, maybe, I don't know. But if we do, maybe, here are some ideas from, I drew from the experience, as the work package leader. The first one was taking more time for a complete agreement between partners on the pedagogical approach. I think that for such a work, we should have probably taken more time at the beginning in order to set up a very precise pedagogical approach. Because as we didn't do that, we had to do it, but it came on a longer time, and maybe we spend more energy on that. So that's the first element. Then as it was presented before, we had the piloting phase, and which was a very rich and interesting phase, because we collected very precious information for improvement of the manual of the books. And we tried, we collected very important, very interesting information, but maybe we could have done more on that side. Also, validating a common specific vocabulary from the beginning would be a very important part of it. And then one element that we set up during the process of designing the book was the reading committee. At one point, we found that we really needed to set up a reading committee among us. So we had 4 or 5 persons throughout the partners who were the reading committee, and they went all through the contents of the units of the books in order to give feedback and make sure that we attained the pedagogical objectives. I think that we could strengthen the role of this reading committee from the beginning to maybe to the end of the project. And the conducting the bi-weekly meetings definitely is the right thing to do for such a project, because that was, as I said before, it was a very valuable activity we had, and it produced, and it will keep produce for the next weeks. Very huge work and very important and pertinent work. Well, I guess that's it for my presentation. So if you have any question.
Thank you very much, Mark. I think that it's always nice to see the final product. In our case, of course, the books, and it really looks nice. But there is always, like you said, in any project management or in any projects, there are always problems and challenges.
Yes.
I think on our side, especially regarding work package 3, we had some, but also we had, let's say, mitigating measures and tools that help us to overcome those. I would just say, I have one question from my side, as you were really involved in this work package 3, and this was by far the most important work package in the entire project. What was the single main challenge or obstacle that you or we as a group encountered out of all these 5, 6, 7 problems that we had? Like, what was the most difficult one?
Well, I think the most difficult one was to get everybody to apply the pedagogical approach that we defined together at the beginning, you know, with the structure of the units of the book, with all the different sections, as I said. And I think we were not all at the same, you know, at the same level, at the same place in front of this approach for different reasons. There's no problem with that, but like, for example, I think among us, we had some very education, you know, approach, you know, like classical education approach, school, you know, school teachers, students, and on the other side, we had some of us who were more competencies oriented, you know, work oriented. So I found out that there was some gap here that needed to be, you know, reduced and filled, and I think that was the main difficulty.
Yeah, I might say I agree. I remember when we got to the final, let's say, how the units will look like when we had the explanations for everything. I think it was then far much easier for everyone to kind of align what we can achieve. So I completely agree. So we don't have any questions and we are right on time. So I would like to thank you, Mark. I think this is also can be a great case study for any project and for all the challenges and obstacles that one project manager can encounter. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we're gonna now proceed to the second part of the conference. Here we will discuss the importance of the upskill results for the educational system of partner countries. So Lithuania, Finland, and France, and an overview of how the results will be applied. So in this part, we have 3 speakers, and we will start with Dr. Outi Kallioinen. She is director of TREDU, which stands for Tampere Region Vocational College. She has also been working in the field of higher education for 20 years as a lecturer, director, vice president, and president. Dr. Kallioinen completed her master's degree in 1997 and PhD in education in 2001 from the University of Tampere. She is an adjunct professor at the Finnish National Defense University and at Manavaratwa University in India. Her area of research has been in the field of pedagogy, curriculum research, teacher development, and leadership. Outi, we welcome you to our panel.
Thank you.
You can share your presentation and the floor is yours.
I think, is it now, can you see it now? I think it's on.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see if I can share like this.
Now even better.
Okay. All right, dear participants, it's a great pleasure to be at this seminar, and it's been most interesting to listen to these presentations and speeches during this afternoon. And I will now present some of the Upscale Project results in TREDU during this project. And also I want to, at this point, congratulate and thank you all who have been involved in this project, because it's been really outstanding to see all the results and also the very good project management. I will skip some of the slides very quickly because I think that most of you have already get acquainted with TREDU's basic ideas and where we are located and so on. And I will skip to the main slide. I think, how can I, if I can put it like that. So we have about 15 campuses around Pirkanmaa County and around Tampere region, and our annual turnover is about 91 million euros, and we have about 1,100 staff members, out of which 700 are teachers, and the student account is about 18,000. There are several study sectors in TREDU, as you most already know. And about the volume, we have about 2,600 graduates per year, from different degree programs. And I also wanted to put a winter photo so that you can see that we really live in the middle of the snow for a very long time of the year. But now we get closer to why we think that this Upscale project is really important for us. We have a vision for 2022, and it is that all our students should have real good professional head start, brave, bold, and fair Tredu, and those are also the values of our college. Our mission is also to provide and maintain professional expertise, enable individual learning paths, develop employment and economy, and accelerate entrepreneurship. And this also is very much in line with the project targets of Upskill. And here is a visualization of our strategy and the strategy framework. And the vision is on the top of the tree, and then we have strategic focus areas as technologically more intelligent future, which very well meets the ideas of this Upskill project, also future entrepreneurship and sustainable way of life. And that's why I think that this project has been one of the core strategic projects of Tredu for the past 32 months. And also I took liberty of taking from Sylvia's presentation today. There is a huge need for specialized and highly trained workforce to be ready for tomorrow's challenges. And I believe that the results of this project have really given some answers, as we heard of the books and all the other elements of the project earlier during this afternoon. Tredu has had a long background and experience on training plastics, vocational education and training skills. And also Tredu was among the pioneers in plastics companies and training since 1920s in Tampere region. And also this plastics and rubber vocational education and training studies, which are on the European qualifications framework level 4, they were integrated into the vocational education and training program, which was called Vocational Qualification in Mechanical Engineering and Production Technology. And this happened after the Finnish vocational reform from 2018. And also at the moment, Tredu is the only full-time studies provider in plastics, vocational education and training education in Finland. And this gives us a huge challenge and also a responsibility. And we offer a wide range of study and training options in plastics and plastics related vocational education and training areas. We have a good networks and companies and also other Finnish web providers and companies which are personalized, which can offer personalized studies on plastics and rubber sector. And I believe that this network competence is crucial in today's and tomorrow's working life and also among education providers. And now we come to some of the upskill activities in Tredu. This project meeting and a study visit happened in Tredu in Tampere in January 2019. There has been many teachers who have been participated in these cooperative expert groups during writing the materials. And these teachers were all qualified in both professionally. They had both higher education degree and work experience, and pedagogically, as teacher training, which is about 60 ECTS credits. In Finland, it is compulsory also for vocational education and training teachers. And the teaching specialities of these teachers involved were natural sciences, engineering sciences focused on metalwork, automation and technical design, and also engineering sciences focused on plastics and rubber production. And as was told, this project language, which was English, it required some extra efforts of the teachers, but this also helped internationalization process in Tredu, and it's good for the future. And some more results. During this piloting, Tredu's 2 teachers were training Lithuanian teachers in Alytus, Lithuania on, let's see, on February 2020. And there was interaction in environmental and machine issues in learning. And also upskill piloting was made in Tredu with 9 of the 18 topics of learning materials in 10 separate groups during the autumn 2020. It was very busy time. And there were 53 students who participated, and most of them in several topics with 6 teachers. And all these piloted materials were placed on Tredu's online learning platform Moodle. Also, digitalization and online learning were used very effectively due to the COVID-19, as contact learning was limited. And there was also Teams and Moodle very effectively used, and it was also tested for the materials, which was very efficient. And overall, this was a positive experience and also a new normal for the next coming era. In 2021, Tredu continues this work also in 2 new projects, which are strategic partnerships in response of the COVID-19 situation, and also partnerships for digital education readiness to collect and share good vocational education and training learning digital models. And also on the 6th of November 2020, the live virtual exchange between the French apprentices and the Finnish students gave the partners very good opportunity to gather additional feedback from the participants of the project. During this virtual exchange, also a wide range of languages were used, as English was not native for anyone, and students' backgrounds were varied and very multicultural. And this gave us huge learning opportunities in overall internationalization. See how this goes on. As I mentioned earlier, we have 3 strategic priorities, and these are also adapted in plastics. In this first strategic focus area, sustainable way of life from Tredu, there is at the moment Sustainable Development Week with some plastics priorities, and also we take part in plastics competition nationally. The second focus area is technologically more intelligent future from Tredu, which means that Moodle teams, augmented reality, virtual reality, and new machinery and digital solutions are adapted and acquired. And the third area is future entrepreneurship from Tredu, and also entrepreneurship and mindset was really relevant in Upscale Project. Some ideas of future use of upskill materials. It was a great challenge and learning process overall in this whole project. And the cooperation is very beneficial and needed. And also I believe that these networks will carry on for the future also. The importance of plastics is huge also at the global level. And therefore we really need to train and attract new skilled workers for the plastics sector. This is really an urgent need. Cooperation with local and international companies is essential, and Tredu continues also to use materials on our own learning platforms with interactive tasks with students from plastics and related vocational education and training fields, which could be machinery, process, laboratory. Also for apprentices, company training, preparatory training, etc. And some future development according to Tredu strategy is to have active use of digital materials and virtual environment in vocational education and training, ongoing green skills and sustainable development, also entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial mindset in all sectors, global and multicultural world of work, learning by doing on the real work tasks. These are also very crucial. So this was my brief presentation. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to answer some questions. And there are also, I noticed that many Tredu colleagues are present in this seminar, and they could also have some answers for you in case you are interested in some specific ideas.
Thank you a lot, Oti. Maybe just from my side, a question. We saw like what's the future of the upscale when it comes to Tredu. Maybe just to mention this piloting part, because I think it was crucial and important part of the entire project, because we finally got some actual feedback, both from the students and the teachers. And I know that piloting was done together with the colleagues in France, and that it was pretty interesting interaction. I saw some of the videos. Maybe to just give us some kind of feedback or the reactions of the students and the teachers when they were conducting piloting.
I would have to ask from some of the Tredu colleagues if you would like to reply to this question, as I don't know about that.
Okay, no problem. Because I saw some videos and I found quite interesting the entire interaction, and hopefully I think we published one video, and hopefully by the end of the project we'll be able to do the same. Okay, no problem. As there are no questions, I wish to thank you for this. Please stick around.
Thank you very much.
There are some other questions by the end of this segment. Thank you a lot. Okay, now I would like to invite Frank Stenow from Bolivia Formation. He's also, as I pointed out, the chairman of the Upscale Steering Committee. So Frank, are you there? Okay, maybe Frank is not with us. Vytautas, are you there? We can maybe move on.
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay, no problem. I can see that Frank is here as well. Hi, Frank. I think we are ready for your second part.
Okay, is it okay for the sound?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, great. Okay. So for the second part, what are the results now for the executive system for each partner and the results? I will make a resume of the situation if you want. Before the Upscale project was set up, there was little or no in France, maybe even in Europe, to my knowledge, of an initial student or teacher training books on plastics and material composite and composite materials. Several training materials have been created since the plastic industry was born in the second half of the 20th century. These supports or books were rather technical supports dedicated to very precise subjects, but no training support on a complete course following a very precise pedagogy and dealing globally with the subject of plastics and composite materials for its technical levels. Upscale responds to this and several other main requests, such as firstly a standardized curriculum recognized in Europe. Secondly, a unique, precise, helpful, and also scalable and free to use pedagogy. And thirdly, a lack of technicians of this level with manufacturer. For the first point, when in the educational world we speak of standardized curriculum, we naturally think of existing curriculum based on conventional subjects and of a pedagogical process coded and honed for a very long time. At the opposite, the training course and the training tools developed in the Upscale project were built on a competence-oriented pedagogical approach. As such, it was necessary for each partner to understand the national VET systems in each country, their characteristics, their developments, and their priorities, as well as their technical and even cultural reference points, a real challenge. First, a comparison of the curricula were therefore carried out Then, secondly, we sought to harmonize the levels of education to finally reach the level of training of technicians in plastics and composite materials. Today, we can say that probably for the first time in the history of plastics education, a real European benchmark of equivalence between our countries has been created. This is essential for the future of our students, our employees, our manufacturers, and essential for cooperation in Europe. For the second point, the skills-oriented pedagogical approach can both worry and reassure. Worry because one could imagine a monolithic, fixed, non-living teaching. Reassure for the student, his parents, manufacturers, who are asking for consistency in terms of knowledge and especially skills at this level of studies. Upskill is now an answer to these questions. These two books, developed and written by our teacher, are complete guides for both the student, one part, and the teacher, second part, to which everyone can refer when they wish. In any case, the teacher must strictly follow the course of the written sequences. On the other hand, he knows that this support is a base with a logical and natural progression, tested that the student will have to acquire at a minimum. He has in his hands the essentials to pass on. The philosophy of education progression transcribed in the works includes new features tools such as digital technology, but also remind us on the basics of elementary calculations. This work is therefore evolving. It has vocation to live and was created today as a base of work, and it thus allows evolution. For example, integrate QR codes to virtualize the theoretical part by video. The content, or secondly, the content focuses on technician syllabus, but nothing also prevents certain activities from being offered to other audiences coming from other courses at beginners or advanced levels. For example, an industrialist can use it partially to carry out a reminder on a notion, a practice on equipment for his employees in continuous training. Finally, the possibility of training more technicians of this level is now offered to training centers as well as to industrialists. The creation of jobs and the growth of training demands in the fields of plastics and composite materials is increasing. The number of technicians available to our manufacturers should therefore increase using this new tool. Today, the ratio supplies per demand continues to grow. In 2019, it was of 2.5. In 2020, 3.8. Now, it is approximately 4.2 in 2021. But this is not enough, and the growth is not fast enough. Why? The reputation and attractiveness of the industrial sector must evolve, improve. It seems to me that our next challenge will be there, because without a student, any training, even excellent, cannot be achieved. Without wanting to paraphrase the French poet Jean de La Fontaine, we will know that, between brackets, every trainer depends on the one who listens. In conclusion, this international project has enabled an intercultural crossover and a pooling of training tools from 3 countries, work in multidisciplinary teams with all the colors of the language and the meanings given to each advanced technical or transversal notion. It has also made it possible to establish links, bridges with other professional structures. In the future, this could allow the emergence of new innovating complementary collaborative projects or specialties in plastics and composite materials. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you a lot, Frank, for these insights. I think also here it was mentioned a couple of times. What is next when it comes to, let's say, a project like this? So in your opinion, do you think that there is a, let's say, a need for something like Upscale 2 or develop similar books? Because as we know from the interest that we are having both from the schools and industry when it comes to this one, maybe something next can be in line in next 6 to 9 months. I don't know. But your opinion?
Yes, it is. I think it is a possibility. That depends of the demand. That's all. If industrialists want this kind of books or this kind of training, I think it would be possible to imagine something like that. Yes.
Good. Okay. There are no other questions, but I would definitely ask you to stick around. So if there are any questions that we can answer after this segment as well. Thank you very much for participating.
Thank you.
So we will now move on to our final speaker for this segment. It's Mr. Vytautas Petkūnas, who is a principal at Visaginas Technology and Business Vocational Education and Training Center. This center is providing the training programs in engineering, manufacturing, and IT. I think very important to mention that the training center is a top position when it comes to the VAT providers in Lithuania for the last 10 years. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Marian. Hello, everybody. So we are really happy to be involved in such a project, which is really important for us, and I mean for the whole country as well. First of all, we built a team, the project team, which was not only from our teachers, but we involved some experts from plastic industry companies as well in the project team to share the knowledge and to be closer to the industry needs. And the project team goes through almost all the work packages, basically curriculum and both students and teachers manuals, or so to say books. And we also take part in piloting together the company and translating as well. So it is really difficult to underestimate the importance of the project and why. I try to explain the situation in Lithuania in this sector, in plastic, how it looks, how it was when the project started, and how it looks up to now. In spite of growing plastic industry in the country, there is no training for the plastic sector, especially no training programs provided in the vocational education sector. I don't speak about the higher education, but and this situation is still like this. The great demand for qualification workforce from the companies is not covered by vocational education and training institutions because there are no programs, there are no curriculum, no materials. And we are feeling like pioneers together with our colleagues from Alytus Training Center, which is involved in this project as well. And as I mentioned, we worked the project team in all those work packages, and I hope our contribution was not the worst one for the project or the whole project team. But I need to tell something more. The project team was working, so to say, on 2 tracks. The one track is the Upskills project, and the second track goes parallel to this, was creation and development of national vocational education and training programs, which was completely related to this curriculum, which is created and developed in Upscale. Those 2 vocational programs are almost finished because we need to be fast as possible, because there is a gap in the labor market of this skill, and we need to be in a hurry. What kind of programs? It is plastic machine operator at EQF 3rd level. It takes 45 credits. It's not a long program, and a bit longer one, 90 credits in AQF 4th level. This will be plastic machine adjuster. Those 2 programs, I hope they will be ready very, very soon, and in September 2020 we can launch those both programs, because besides of this, in our training center, using the some project support from other projects, we purchase the full equipment for training in plastic industry. All 3 methods will be available, and not the bad machines are coming to us. They are already there. I also very happy about the cooperation with the companies. I see Laimonas from Intersurgical is in our webinar today as well. Maybe he can tell some words also. Today we spoke with the administration and the head of this company, Intersurgical, about the future cooperation. I need to say this company, Intersurgical, is one of the biggest in employers number in Lithuania, and we spoke about plastic, those 2 vocational training programs perspective. How can we start in September? This will be really kick off from this gap we have still, and back to the main product of the project, those manuals for teacher, for student. This will be definitely useful for the start of the training, and for the teachers and for students in our school. And I hope not only maybe we will be pioneers, but I hope this will be spread it out through the country, and we will have more training centers, more students, and more this field will be covered by vocational education and training. Thank you very much, and sorry for my broken English.
Thank you, Vytautas. I think the English was totally fine. I definitely agree that there was a gap on the market, and I think that was recognized by all of our partners that decided to join this project together. For me, I think the most important question now, how the implementation, for instance, of this program will look like in your organization, in your association. When you expect that it will start, and is it going to be, let's say, a test project or the test class that will go on and then develop, and how you see this also through Lithuania?
So I really believe this will be not a test. This will be a real start, because, as I mentioned, we were working on 2 tracks. Those nation adaptation of this program created by Upskills was adjusted to national standards, and we have 2 of them, as I mentioned, and we really looking forward to launch the real training, to have real students, not experiment students, not testing students, just to start in September 2020.
21. Okay, thank you a lot. I'm hoping also that this kind of program will be picked up by other VAT institutions throughout Lithuania, not only Lithuania, but the other countries as well. Thank you a lot for taking a part. We will now move to our final part of the conference, so discuss how upskill results, let's say, will influence and what benefits will bring to the educational systems in the partner countries. Now we'll move to the plastic sector, to the plastics industry. Also in this part, we will have 3 speakers, and we will start with Mr. Vesa Karha. So Vesa is the managing director of the Finnish Plastics Industry Federation. He had worked in the plastics industry for over 30 years, educating people to use plastics in a correct way. He is Master of Science, specialist, of course, in the polymer technology. Also from my experience, I know that he is quite active on the social media. If you're using LinkedIn, you will find Vesa there with always posting interesting articles. And he is also involved in the Finnish public discussions about material use. So
Thank you, Marian.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me and see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes. I'm enormously happy to be able to speak out a few words about how Finnish plastic industry is going to use this Upscale project results. We hardly ever, I'm sure nobody knew what kind of road we had ahead when we met the first time in Tampere 2018. It has been really amazing how actually you people made it, and now we have this result ready to be distributed. Finnish plastic industry briefly, just to give you a hint of where we come from and what we are today. We actually have a anniversary year, 100 years celebration. Doesn't feel like big festival today, but this whole branch of industry started in Finland, in Tampere actually, 1921. Nowadays we have around 500 companies. In Finland, we produce polyethylene, polypropylene, and EPS, polystyrene thermosets. But we have very, very significant SME area where we do convert all these plastics products. And that's the direction that gets the most benefit from Upscale. Not to mention 12,000 professionals. Out of those, by the way, only 10% are having plastics vocational education. So it's very seldom you find professional from Finnish plastic industry who is truly has educated himself or herself from plastic side. There are all sort of educations or non-educational people at all. So there's in theory there's a lot of market for new VEs in our area already. And I would like to just refer to previous presentations that plastics is very much needed in plastics industry, but also elsewhere. At least in Finland, the big users of plastics are also forest industry, metal industry, and textile. So I think in a way borders between different materials are vanishing, and that's one need we have to take into account in future when we search for people who are willing to work in our industry. You must not look too narrowly that it's only plastics. There are more and more plastics made from wood in different ways. There are totally different molecules. In a way, I would say we go back into 1921. It started from bioplastics, and now we are going back to bioplastics. Also, recycled materials need some special, how would I say, learning and experience. They are not just drop-in materials very often. And coming towards today's situation, there was a sort of game changer year 2018 in Finland. There was a big reform on the educational side, and as often in reforms, something changes very dramatically. And I must admit afterwards that many companies lost the connections to education providers and said that, okay, we get nothing now from that side. That side. It was a wrong vision, and now we are repairing the situation. And there I see also, once again, I'm repeating myself, but also their upskill is a sort of bridge, something new Finnish material for people to start this own VET programs probably again. We have already 2 projects going on there, and I will come to those later in my presentation. Despite of this reform, or I would say parallel to this reform, there was a change in society that our industry needed much more agile education project, not long studies taking years. Although I personally see that there's a value in itself in long-term education, lifelong learning, and it's also a method to bind together the company and employee, because you have to make a personal learning path towards future on a personal level and on a company level as well. So that was actually yesterday's feelings. And nowadays, if you look today, as we live still under COVID-19, that we still have surprisingly a lot of open places, job places in Finnish plastics industry. According to official statistics, 200 every month open, and they are difficult to fill in many places. We have had, even before COVID, and now it's worse to find people in a certain places. And on the other hand, demographic situation is not very promising nowadays in Finland. Also, a lot of people are retiring, professionals, entrepreneurs, teachers. 200, I would say more than 200 per year are are getting away from plastics industry and plastics area. So there's a definitely need for new blood and new material. And once again, things like Upscale will bring us again to fulfill this demand. When new people are coming in, we have to educate them properly. We have had constant lack of good inspirational teaching materials. This is not just a feeling. We Finnish plastics industry is actually putting some materials to schools. Like last year, we had this bioplastics guide. Everything goes from our hands. There's an enormous need for learning materials in Finnish, in technical area, in plastics area. And future, if we do nothing, we lose the game totally. On the other hand, Finnish people will all have university places in future. That's one comfort for our children. We have only we have minus 2,487 places. There are more places in universities than kids are now born. So of course you need to either cut the university places or make more children. Well, that's tough task, or open more borders for immigration, for job origin immigration. That's one competition that is hard. It's between technical areas, whether it's university or lower level. And now we can already see in Finland that if you have one very interesting project with Mercedes-Benz in Middle Finland, you immediately lose all the good plastics experts to that site. So there's too little experts on plastics area at the moment, and we have to do something about it. It's a need. It's a bottleneck already. So putting this into 3 steps, we have to get the right people, the sharpest pens in a panel to be interested in our business, in our plastics converting industry, the greatest industry in the world. But secondly, we need to keep them interested in our business, and provide them more education and an opportunity to develop ourselves every day. And then, of course, you must not forget customers. So moving and serving customers is an essential, and that often is forgotten in education area. You need to have new entrepreneurs as well. Well, the outcome of Upscale, now we have on our hands truly impressive, useful, professional, good package. It's fitting well. What I've gone through, it's fitting really well for our needs. Of course, there might be some areas that cannot be covered because the plastics converting area is so large. There was a question of PVC film production. We can't go into too detailed, of course. Well, there's some limitations must be there, and then something must be left for national level or company level. Now I would say it's time to take that package in use, because I'm sure demand is there, and we have to make a sales work as well. We start next week with our federation, that we have an annual meeting, and at that annual meeting our Pirjo Pietikäinen will show the fruits of Upscale first time. So I think it will be an eye opener for those companies. But please bear in mind that there are 500 companies, and reaching all of those takes some time, and Finns are very in a way slow to adapt new things. So it's persistent, enthusiastic sales work ahead. And we have luckily now 2 significant educational programs going on the west side of Finland and on the east side of Finland. So very well balanced. This is from the east side, just last week, actually a week ago, in Joensuu area, where there's over 30 companies lacking people for their production units. So now we start attracting people there and then offering them a good plastics education as well. And that's one of the first test fields, a full-scale test fields for upskilling in Finland. Hyvä muovi, that means good plastics. It's also in the first Sylvia said about bad image of our material. So hyvä muovi means good plastics. We want to turn it totally upside down because it's not fair to claim that plastics is bad. Yes, I would also join all the people who celebrated Upskill and thank those who were involved in this excellent job, made the almost impossible possible, and now the results are for our all to benefit and lift EU once again up and running. So that's my presentation. Thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions or comments or remarks.
Thank you, Vesa. I think that this was an interesting insight into the Finnish plastics industry with a lot of info. I would just have one question. How do you see then implementing our upskill training, for instance, in Finland? As you mentioned, there are 500 companies, but also there are different obstacles and barriers when taking something new. How would you see that, let's say that this program and this teacher's book, student teacher's book will, let's say, find its way to the users that we are expecting?
Marian, that's an excellent question. I'm optimistic in this case. In many changes, when they cause something or something that causes resistance immediately, but this one doesn't cause for companies at all. On the opposite, this will bring the better possibilities to learn more, to teach more, and to gain more benefit from plastics and people. This will bind people together. So I'm very confident that this will find the users and good. And I'm also, human has 2 ears and 1 mouth. So in that proportion, I'm ready to listen everybody else. How are you doing to distribute and disseminate and learn from that to benchmark? I suggest that this network that has now established is making some sort of benchmarking. How do you do it in Lithuania, Belgium, France, other countries? So that would be also beneficial for us.
Yes, I completely agree. And I think the network that we managed to create here would be quite important in the upcoming months and years, especially when it comes to this training material or having to, new consortium for maybe some other projects.
Right.
Thank you a lot. Stick around if there are any other questions.
I will.
So we are now progressing to Mr. Laimonas Bačkis, who is today with us as well. So just to introduce Laimonas, he studied industry engineering at Vilnius Gediminas Technical University. And even during his studies, he worked in the plastics field with plastic molding, extrusion, PVC compounding, and recycling. In 2011, he joined International in Surgical Company. And then after external trainings on extrusion and blow molding, he became extrusion process manager. His role is to build and train teams and coordinate teams' work at plastics extrusion and blow molding processes. Laimonas, please go ahead.
So thank you, Marian, for introduction, and good afternoon to all participants. Well, I would like to start my speech, and in order to put things together properly, I will first start from the question. So why do we need such a training program or even the project? So to paint properly the overall picture in the Lithuanian industrial sector, we'll start from insights on the Lithuanian economical development. So as you know, maybe some of you not, Lithuania regained its independence only in 1991. So at that time, an economic downturn began with a change in the economical system. The factors built during the Soviet occupation were in many cases uneconomical, producing uncompetitive products which lost competition to the Westerners. So factories producing complex products but not competitive in the market had to be closed. After several years of reforms, strong economic begins to grow in Lithuania. And here trade, service sectors, communication begins to expand. Foreign investors came and large local companies were established, which no longer have roots in Soviet factories. So growth slowed slightly in 2008 due to the global crisis, during which the largest immigration of the population began. So nowadays it's more or less immigration is fine, balance, let's say, but we still do not know how pandemic again will change it. Yeah, so what is important for Lithuanian economy is the high value added economy, which requires workforce with the right skills. Nevertheless, the activity in the Lithuanian population has already reached a high level, and the democratic situation in the country is still difficult. Therefore, in order to prevent human capital from becoming a factor limiting the company's progress, fundamental changes in the education and immigration systems are required. Therefore, a modern human capital ecosystem must be balanced, meeting the priorities and needs of the Lithuanian economy, creating conditions for a population to use its potentials. Currently, the labor shortage is forecast for Lithuania, and the competencies of employees that do not meet market's needs will become a key factor limiting the growth of Lithuanian economy. In order to prevent this and increase plastic industry in Lithuania, a training program is needed, which will already be taught in vocational schools or training centers. One of the example what we have nowadays is the cooperation of Intersurgical Company and Visaginas Vocational Training Center in implementing an apprenticeship in the field of mechatronics. So this is how we managed to get employees interested in training, raise the level of employees' qualifications, and focus employees more quickly on creating benefit for themselves and of course for the company. So in Lithuania itself, I would name the plastic industry as a young industry that develops products according to its own internal rules. The method of plastic molding or forming depends on the complexity of the component or part, and most companies produce specific products, so specific equipment again is required. But how you can train the employees to work with that equipment? Again, it's equipment manufacturers or sellers can train the staff to operate it. Moreover, sometimes we think how to choose the right plastic for molding, for which process will be suitable, and here we are meeting that knowledge is required. So on the biggest challenges that I faced in preparing the program and attending into it was that I was not able to use Lithuanian textbooks about plastics or processes because I haven't seen them in Lithuanian language. So furthermore, I had to use my accumulated knowledge, experience, and training material, which we have developed and already have in Intersurgical company. So would like to note that Intersurgical works extensively with equipment and plastic manufacturers. Often enough plastic or equipment is adapted to our processes. So plastic manufacturers comes to us for plastic trails because they simply do not have opportunity to perform the tests by themselves. So cooperation is very important aspect in plastic industry. So this just was the short review what situation exists in Lithuania. So I would like now to jump into exactly the project, the skills for digital future of plastic, and to make some insights as well. So I have been involved in this project from beginning, although I conduct in-house plastic molding training with the Intersurgical company. It is quite a new experience to attend into this, of course, training program preparation, but for me itself, it will be very useful for training companies. So just shortly to review what exactly training program covers. So it will have 18 sections. So each section has been prepared for competent persons which considerable experience in the fields prepare them. Regarding information which is based inside the sections, would say that it is basic information needed for modern plastic companies, starting with the introduction of the teamwork principles, green skills, environmental, lean manufacturing, quality and safety, problem solving, monitoring, sorting, plastic characteristics, plastic molding processes, and of course, product and component evaluation. In most cases, production employees in some companies, they do not even know how and according to what production processes are carried out. So their desire is to acquaint them with the basic principles of production and to teach them how to operate the plastic molding processes and of course forming processes as well. During the development of the program, there were several stages. One of them was the piloting week, which took place at Intersurgical company. So participants were introduced to the company's activities and available plastic molding processes. Of course, concentration was in my field. So there's like extrusion and blow molding processes. We were able to perform several experiments on equipment, also perform some exercises with simulation process programs, and get acquainted with the theory which has been prepared in training material. Of course, we done evaluation of already prepared training program and identified the necessary changes and improvement required for that. So overall, I will mention that it is impossible to describe all the processes and put the whole theory and knowledge in the training program, because each person who has been attending into the training program, we are different. We have different experience, we have different qualification level, let's say. So what we done, so we emphasize the basic rules of the processes. So now everything else, when the program will be released successfully, will depend on how properly the students or employees will absorb the information. Of course, the activities of the training centers and their cooperation with the companies is very important. In the same ways, the instruments for the training will be required, mean plastic molding equipment, which will give the students practical knowledge. So only combination of theory and practical activities, cooperations with the companies and training center, I believe can give us successful results. So preparing employees to operate plastic molding or forming processes is a significant burden for the companies. If external training, let's say, has been used, it costs a lot. If a company can conduct in-house the training, it needs competitive staff to do that, which requires considerable resources and training. So this training, let's say, of the program Skills for the Digital Future of Plastic Factories, then the new employees or the students will get the professional education in the profession of line conductor operator, will allow them to enter the company significantly faster and to start producing products from the very first days. So training for existing employees again will raise the level of a competence. Overall, training will help halt the deteriorating situation in the labor market, not least because of a lack of competence. Another important aspect is the startups and new companies which need workforce. So if we can train a qualified employees, we will be able to attract new investments into Lithuania and of course in other countries, and to increase qualification level of already existing employees. So that's all. So thank you for partners and participants for listening.
Thank you a lot, Laimonas. I think it was quite an insight into Lithuanian industry and how the piloting also was conducted when it comes to the upscale. I know that you were directly involved in that, right?
Yeah.
How was your impression from the piloting? Because I think this was also the, let's say, the main part of our project, next to the, of course, drafting the materials.
Well, as it is an international, let's say, project, yeah, and we are meeting quite interesting persons or experts again on each different plastic process. And you can draw, or for myself, I was drawing the visual, let's say, drawing how much I am deep in the process. And when we are sharing the knowledge you have, it seems that our company, Intersurgical, have quite a lot of training material and expertise as well for the processes, and we are happy to share that. So believe that all the training material will be really useful for all the plastic industry companies.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Around until the end. We are right almost at the finish line. We have our final speaker for today. So I would like to welcome Pierre-Jean Leduc. Just a bit of information about him. He is currently chairman of the DDN Multiplasturgy Group that he took over in 2004. Over time, this company has become a multi-technology industrial mid-sized company that is specialized in co-design and manufacture of high added value plastics and composite parts, and specialized in the substitution of metal by high performance plastics and composites. In 2015, Pierre-Jean commitments to the apprenticeship training led him to become the president of ISPA. Of course, as you all know, since January 2021, ISPA has joined forces with the other training structures in the plastics industry to form Polivia Formation, so training tool with national influence at the service of the manufacturers. As innovation is vital for the sector, and this is the reason why Pierre-Jean Leduc got involved in the creation of the Technical Centers for Plastics, Innovation plus 2G Composites, IPC, of which he is one of the vice presidents. He's also actively participated in the creation of a French Fab label to support French industry excellence. So this is in connection with the Industry 4.0, and participates in the deployment in French regions, particularly to the structuring of the Normandy French Fab sector. So quite experienced. I invite him at this point to say a couple of words. Very warm welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Marianne. Good afternoon to everyone. Yeah, it's a pleasure to take part to this meeting. As you mentioned, Marianne, I've been involved through ISPA from the beginning of Upscale, but I must admit that that was under the control of Frank and Mark, and not really under my control. So I discovered the results of the work, and have been very impressed, in fact, by the fact that you have been able to set up in a very short period of time what I would call a standard. And for a group like De Dienne, where we have plants in France, but also 2 plants in Romania, 1 plant in the US, and maybe tomorrow other plants in Europe, it's very important to have a sort of standard where you can define what is a job description, what skill you require to be able to take this position, and especially when you want to have your staff evoluting in the company. You know, we must improve the skills of our workers all their life long, and to do that we need to check or to tick boxes. You know, are you able to do this, are you able to do that, and if so, you can go to the next position and also have obviously the salary going with this new evolution, but also because you have several skills. The more skills you have, the more important you are in the company, and also obviously you can evaluate in the evolution in the company is easier. So I looked at what Mark and Frank gave me, and I found that it's very interesting, and also I think that it's quite accurate in terms of definition of skills. So this is for me, I would say, something that I probably will take over for in the group, you know, in my group, to have the same standard wherever you are in France, or you are in Romania, and maybe tomorrow in Germany. We must have, or in Lithuania, why not one day? This is the standard in our group, and we will use this this work. So this is very important and interesting, I think. And the other thing that I find very interesting is that it's obviously something which has been done through different countries, and we need to think Europe. We need to stop thinking only with our country or nationality, and it's important to build this European culture. And for me, it goes right in what is Erasmus built for. It's really to build this European structure. So because we are at the European level, and because we are industrial companies, we think not only developing the business in our country, but all over the world. And obviously all over the world start outside our borders, and outside our borders is naturally Europe before all, and sharing the same technical skills, considering that Europe, we are very ahead in terms of technologies using plastic processing. I think that I have a company in the US, and I can tell you that Europe is very ahead in terms of plastic processing, or this is really something where Europe is very strong, because we have the chemists, we have the plastic processors, so we know exactly what we can do, and we are very upfront in terms of plastic processing. So being able to maintain this level of skill, to develop this level of skill, is also something which will help us probably to be more competitive. And also because we arrive now to and we need to use the right words. It's an economical war, and this is Europe against the rest of the world, against Asia, against I would say USA as well. Maybe it might change in a few. With a new president, maybe USA won't be as much an enemy, or we will not be considered as much as an enemy to USA. I should say it more in this way. However, this is an economical war, and to become more competitive, we need to trust our youth. We need to trust the young generation. We need to be able to train them. So it's why I took over the position of president of ISPA and now Polivia Formation, because I really believe in the future of our company through the young generation, but also through the people that we already have on board, you know, in our companies, and that we must train to evaluate, to change of position in our company. So this standard for me is very important because it will give really a reference. You are able to do that, so you deserve this. You are not able, so we need to train you up until you are able to achieve what has been required by this standard. So this is a general message that I want to testimonial through this meeting. And I would be happy to answer to question if there is any question.
Thank you very much, Pierre. I think that it is important to say that even the European Commission recognized that there is this educational gap or the workforce gap, and that we're gonna miss a couple of thousands or 100,000s of people that are well educated, but also diverse into the digitalization, green skills, circular economy. And I think that our project definitely is something that tackles also this kind of gap, but it was that also we noticed there is a gap in the industry that we can produce some material for.
Exactly, and I think that we have a lack of trained people, that's obvious, and technicians, and it's why we need to train them. But it's also, we need to be convinced that plastic material is a material for the future. We have the plastic bashing all over France, but also all over Europe. And but in the other hand, the young generation, we need also to show them and that the plastic is a fantastic material because it has several lives, you know, and it's because we will develop the technologies to use plastic. We will develop the skill to transform plastic and to give them several lives. That's this. We will improve our the way that plastic is used today, because it's also important to develop how we process the material and also develop new technology to process maybe differently the material. So these standards have to today we have a certain number of I listed that we have these skills which have been developed, or the standards which have been developed, but there will be others tomorrow. It's a no-end project. This is the photo today in 2021, but I'm certain that in 2025 we will talk more about recycling, for instance, which is the really where our business, the plastic processing, needs to go towards recycling, and there will be new standards in this Upscale project, including all this activity through the recycling of material, of plastic material.
I couldn't agree more. Here.
Thank you. I think it's quite interesting that also I want to thank you and thank all the participants, because this is definitely a positive feedback and very good comments when it comes to the upskills material that comes from the industry. I think for us that's quite diligently worked on this project is really good news, and we are hoping that our syllabus and our training materials will pick up not only into partners countries but also throughout Europe. As you pointed out, Pierre-Jean, we are also not just one country, we are looking at Europe as a whole. So thank you very much for joining. I don't see any questions. We are coming to the end of our conference. Oh, maybe one. Okay, this is more probably for our coordinator. So Michael Schumann agrees with Pierre-Jean's statements, and he's asking, is it planned to establish a sort of European upskill? So something to think about. We are definitely looking maybe to the other ways how to connect and to apply for the new projects grants, because as we see now, there is definitely a need for something similar and additional material. At this point, I would like all our participants to put in a camera on so that we can take a picture as well. And I would like to invite our upskill coordinator to give us closing remarks. So Grażyna, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marian. Thank you, all the speakers. I think all the activities and results of the project were presented in great detail. I can only confirm that this is quite a journey which taught us a lot and which led us to those valuable results that we have. But the good results can never be achieved with motivated and professional people. Therefore, as a coordinator from my side, I would like to thank all the professionals from vet schools, from plastic companies who have contributed in developing the training material for the plastics processing line conductor. And especially, I would like to thank the most devoted partners, Mark Manguin, Sirka Ilvaskoski, Pirjo Pietikanen, Marian Ranogajec, Živilė Šatienė, Gintautas Dervinis, Laimonas Bačkys, who have put their hearts and overtime in this project. And of course, Frank Steno, the chairman of our steering committee meeting, who has always presented very good insights about the projects and brought a sparkle of humor and positiveness in our meetings. So I'm sure that the training material will be widely used by the stakeholders of the greatest industry in the world, as Vesa said. So for the moment, thank you, Marian. Thank you, your team, for organizing the final conference. Thank you all the participants for taking part, listeners for joining us today, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you.
Grażyna,
Thank you,
to all the participants. It was a pleasure to host all of you, to bring this upskill project to the general public and to the companies and VAT institutions and people working in the industry. Also, my name and the name of the UPC, I would like to thank our audience as well for joining us today. I wish you all a nice day. Please stay healthy and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.